And our first individual who's asked for privilege of the floor is Christine Aiello. Christine?
Thank you, Leanne. This is my third town board meeting. I've been here in June, July, and August, being redundant with the very same thing. I voiced my concerns regarding the parity between the town of Saugerties and the village of Saugerties in reference to local law 1 and local law 3. For those of you that have forgotten, local law 1 refers to property maintenance and local law 3 to inoperable and unlicensed vehicles. These referenced laws were passed in 2005 and 2008 respectively in the village of Saugerties through a motion being drafted for both laws. I simply asked for the town board to review and revise our laws to have parity with those laws that govern the village of Saugerties. Initially, my first contacts were with Supervisor Costello and Paul Andreessen. We met and visited sites in Berkeley Heights, where we reside, where my concerns were back in the month of April. Since April, I have met numerous times with Leanne Thornton, John Schoonmaker. I have spoke to Mike McIsaac and Paul Andreessen. All seem to agree with me that we need to revisit the laws governing the town of Saugerties, and that the issues that I have been pointing out for the past 4 months actually are reason for concern and should be revised. I foiled the village laws and received from Clerk Lisa Mayone all the necessary information that was instrumental in the revision and enforcement of local law 1 and local law 3. I emailed Leanne, Paul, and John this information and John told me that he would review it and would then forward it on to Attorney George Ritter for review and to get the ball rolling. Because if we could possibly get this into place by the end of 2019, it would be wonderful with all parties on board. And I have been told by all 4 sitting here tonight that you do agree and we should be revisiting and revising these laws and acting on this. It's devaluing our property. It's causing problems that really could be resolved if we just took action with these things. Needless to say, I'm extremely disappointed that the board and Supervisor Costello have not moved forward. I have done all the work in gathering all the information and dispersing it to board members. As a constituent, I feel I'm ignored, I'm not taken seriously, and I am highly disappointed. I know campaign season is approaching, and you are all looking for higher office and to be reelected to your present position, except Mike. I was hopeful that perhaps a difference could have been made taking a step forward, but to no avail, and apparently those seeking public office have other things on their mind presently. I cannot tell you how disappointed I am. I have worked countless hours, I have spoke to countless people, I have done all kinds of research myself, and I just feel that I'm preaching to a choir that perhaps doesn't want to play my music, and that's pretty much where I stand. Now, I also feel that as an elected official, it's important that you know your constituents, you understand their concerns, and I just feel that unless you have this ability, perhaps public office is not what you should be seeking. So I did happen to run into Mr. Schoonmaker tonight. By the way, John, I like your haircut. And I did speak to him, and he has taken the time, hopefully, to review the information that I did present him. And he assured me that I will be getting an email from him regarding this. But I think in closing, before I end this, I think that these 2 laws, they have to be put into place. It's simple parity between the village of Saugerties and the town of Saugerties. There's absolutely no reason why there should be 2 junked vehicles allowed in the town in someone's yard when there are no vehicles allowed in the village. There's no reason why ugly furniture that sits through rain and snow and sleet sits out at the end of at someone's driveway because they just feel like getting rid of it, and until it's removed, it's going to sit there, and they don't want to pay somebody to come and get it. It's wrong. It's wrong. We all know it's wrong, and it's not how we live. It is going into 2020, so we have to get on board with these things. And if you're all calling for change, which I think you are, in your campaign material that has been left at my house, I am seeing that the elected officials hoping to be elected to office, they have been aware that changes have to be made. We have to progress. We have to do it, as they say, gracefully, and we have to put these things in the perspective order. And Saugerties village and town is basically one entity. We are not two separate communities. The stepchildren living in one area, the natural children in another. It's just, to me, it's just absurd. So in closure, because I really don't want to stand here anymore, since I have a fracture in my ankle, I'm going to close, and I'm going to put my trust that someone on this board will act and come forward and get the ball rolling with this and put what's due for the residents in the town of Saugerties in place. And that's all I can say, and with that I'm going to close. And I hope that by September's meeting, I hope I don't have to stand here, hopefully without my boot for sure, but hopefully we will have started the ball rolling and we won't have to do this again. So thank you for your time and the privilege of the floor.
Christine, just so you know, Albie did respond to the village laws, as I told you 2 weeks ago. You know, he received copies of it. And I did have a conversation with him, so we'll follow up with that.
Okay.
He had some concerns, things that he liked and things that he had some concerns about. So we will have a discussion.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's another thing. I just don't quite understand why, you know, if the village was able to execute this, and it was executed through a motion at a meeting. It was not something that was, you know, this in-depth study, because this law had been in place before, and what they did was they simply revised the law and they made it more stringent and more consequences if you are a violator. So if he has concerns, then maybe those concerns need to be addressed, but I think also, I mean, there's concerns with everything. You know, everything we do, we have concern about, but we sometimes have to overlook those things and plunge into the pool anyway and just move forward. So that's all I have to say. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Andrew Mazzulli of the Food and Water Watch is next.
Pizzullo.
Pizzullo, sorry.
It's a tough one, I know. Pretty tough for telemarketers and things like that. All right, hi. Supervisor, council persons, thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly this evening about the, I'm going to speak about the Dan Scammer fracked gas power plant proposal, and for considering as a board the passage of a memorializing resolution in opposition to this gas plant. So my name's Andrew. I live down the road in Kingston. Let's see, what do you need to know about me? I used to be a vegetable farmer down in the Hurley Flats. Ended up giving up my business after a couple of years of floods in a row, and now work in climate and energy policy for an organization called Food and Water Watch. And Food and Water Watch works with communities to fight to protect clean water, healthy food, livable planet for all. We're about 130,000 strong here in New York, hundreds of supporters actually in the town of Saugerties, and about 1 million supporters nationwide. So this evening I'm asking you to use your political voice given you by your constituents here to join what's now a chorus of Hudson Valley towns and municipalities to help steer regional and state energy policy in the direction I think we all want it to go, which is towards a reliable and renewable electrical grid. Now, you might wonder why I'm asking you to consider a passing resolution regarding a power plant many towns downriver in Newburgh, and that's a supremely fair point. But in New York State, large energy projects, because they have an outsized impact on lots of different towns or the state as a whole, things like gas power plants wind their way through a state permitting process called the Article 10 process, rather than the seeker process for smaller development or infrastructure projects. The touchstone maybe here might be the glide path proposal, which was in the town of Ulster. That actually went through a home rule seeker process in the town. Things like dance scammer, big baseload facilities go through a state level permitting process. Now the passage of resolutions, as well as elected official sign-on letters and public comments by private citizens are all considered holistically in the determination of siting of power plants like the dance scammer. And in the last 2 months alone, 9 Hudson Valley communities, including, I think it's 4 now in Ulster County, have passed resolutions opposing the dance scammer, with many more considering action, including the Ulster County Legislature, which has a resolution before it now. So now to the dance scammer. The dance scammer is a fracked gas power plant proposal. Basically, the idea is to build a base load, meaning that's continuously operated, running 100% of the time, power plant next to an existing peaker facility. A peaker is one that runs like 2 to 5% of the time. Just 3 miles from the center of the city of Newburgh, which is, as we all know, an environmental justice community already dealing with a systematic and as of yet unresolved water contamination crisis. Now, this new power plant, I'm going to run through it very quickly and we can go through questions if you have any. But the power plant produces 10 times the air pollution and methane emissions as the existing facility. It releases benzene, nitrogen dioxide, formaldehyde, and VOCs, volatile organic compounds, into the air, which are a direct threat to air quality and public health regionally. Basically within what they call a pollution shed of about 50 to 60 miles. So we are technically actually within that pollution shed. And fracked gas, which usually is produced from shale gas in Pennsylvania mostly, produces an enormous amount of what people call fugitive methane, which is, we now know, 100 times more heat trapping of a greenhouse gas than CO2 is, and accelerates the impact of climate change. Now, the gas industry has decided to target the Hudson Valley with new fossil fuel infrastructure because, really one thing, they receive what are called capacity payments, which are direct subsidies from utility ratepayers like yourselves, all of us included, stemming from a Federal Energy and Regulatory Commission designation of our region as a capacity zone in 2014. They have they've also seized upon what is sort of a public anxiety in the region with the decommissioning of the Indian Point nuclear facility to make what I think, honestly are pretty false and somewhat misleading claims about the demonstrated need for new fossil fuel infrastructure to keep the lights on, which is the main argument made for the construction of what were now 2 new already existing power plants downstate. That's Competitive Power Ventures in Wawayanda and Cricket Valley and Dover Plains. Now, these claims have really no basis in data. In fact, the 100 megawatt deficit left by the decommissioning of Indian Point has already been taken care of with much needed transmission line improvements that remove transmission bottlenecks of what is a glut of renewable hydropower, wind, geothermal, solar, and nuclear from upstate New York down to the Hudson Valley region and New York City. And the construction of what is going to be about 1,700 megawatts of offshore wind in Long Island, which was announced by the governor just a couple of weeks ago and is slated to be finished by 2023. It was announced at the signing of the landmark climate legislation, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, as well as other energy efficiency improvements, and declining energy demand further discredit the demonstrated need claim. Now, the proposed facility is slated to be built about 8 feet from the edge of the Hudson River on a site that was completely flooded in Superstorm Sandy, and the storage of about 1 million gallons of diesel and 30,000 gallons of aqueous ammonia on that particular site pose a direct ecological and public safety threat to our watershed and to the Hudson River. And if that's not enough, New York State's new climate legislation passed and signed just a couple of weeks ago mandates 70% renewable energy generation in the electrical sector by 2030 and 100% net zero emissions in the electrical sector by 2040, which is very steep and very aggressive and will surely not be reached if we continue to build fossil fuel infrastructure. And on a positive note, and I think again, speaking to the glide path proposal, with strong public leadership, from elected officials like you and citizens making their voices heard about climate change and the need to stop building fossil fuel infrastructure, we've seen a number of really exciting green energy and just transition projects throughout the state, like the glide path next door in Ulster. It was a proposed fracked gas power plant turned battery storage facility that now adds much needed reliability to the grid, offers economically durable property tax benefits to the town, creates more and cleaner jobs for the regional economy, and created a favorable economic environment for 3 new solar farms in the town of Ulster. As well as we've seen it at the Cayuga coal-fired power plant in Ithaca, which was transitioned to a solar farm, battery storage facility, and data center instead of repowered to be fracked gas. So our goal is to do the same, using the thoughtful and reasoned voices of elected officials and communities to steer the Dan Scammer proposal towards a renewable energy project that solves complicated energy problems rather than giving us more, creates jobs, creates green jobs for our region, which our region badly needs, and protects vulnerable communities in the Hudson River, and honestly makes the Hudson Valley and our whole region a cleaner and more vibrant place for us to call home. So thanks for the time. I'm happy to answer any specific questions. I know we kind of breezed through it, but basically I'm hoping you consider passing a resolution in opposition to the Dan Scammer. And additionally, I've given you all an elected official sign-on letter, which goes directly to Governor Cuomo and the Public Service Commission. Those are the 2 deciders in the matter, asking them to deny permits to build the new fracked gas power plant on the river. So thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Are you good?
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next, privilege of the floor, Tamara Shoppin.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Tamara Shupin. I'm a resident of the town of Saugerties and a volunteer member of the TV23 committee. I'm here tonight to read for the record a proposal by the TV23 committee for the town and village boards of Saugerties for promotion to full-time for the part-time TV23 program coordinator. Saugerties, this is a quote from the town and village website about TV23. Saugerties Public Access Cable Channel, Lighthouse TV23, is a vehicle for community communication, education, artistic expression, and other non-commercial uses of video on an open, uncensored, and equitable basis. In 18 years, beginning with a few determined volunteers and very little resources, TV23 has grown into one of the most advanced community television facilities in the nation, providing 24/7 internet streaming and video-on-demand service so that you can use the internet to see our programs from anywhere in the world on any compatible device, just by a click of the mouse or a tap on your smart screen. Lighthouse TV23 is funded by both the town and village boards. It is managed by a paid program coordinator and advised by an all-volunteer TV23 committee made up of 10 village and town residents, as well as a liaison person from each of the town and village boards. Volunteers from the community are vital to its function. The station has been fortunate to have had the same dedicated and competent program coordinator for 13 years. Working part-time, assisted by a small corps of volunteers, Anastasia, or Stacy, as many of you know her, Redmond, has managed what amounts to a full-time job of keeping the station on the air without interruption, steadily increasing the quality of the programming, recruiting volunteers, and successfully navigating the sometimes confusing guidelines set by the Federal Communications Commission. At this moment, however, TV23 is at a crossroads where it cannot meet the growing demands of the community without a full-time program coordinator. It will make a huge difference in the station's function, allowing Stacy to virtually duplicate herself by training volunteers while she maintains the daily function of the station. Training new volunteers is critical to the station's continued success. TV23 is a wonderful fit for our community and has provided service to our community in numerous ways.
Our town and village are full of residents who possess a volunteer spirit, who care about their community, and they watch TV 23. Recently, the Saugerties Food Pantry ran a request for volunteers on the TV 23 bulletin scroll. Within days, the pantry organizers called Stacy to say, "Please stop our ad. We've got more responses than we need." Many Saugerties residents remember the power outage 6 years ago that lasted several days. The town and village lost radio communication. Walkie-talkies could not connect everyone in the emergency service network. Because cable function remained intact, Chief Sinagra was able to put an emergency network together with the help of TV 23. Using the TV 23 bulletin scroll, Stacy ran constant messages with vital information so that residents could learn where to get water, food, and shelter, what streets and roads were closed, and more. TV 23 helps with little things too. The water department notifies Stacy when it needs to flush the lines, and within hours, TV 23 viewers get the message. Sadly, for some time, due to the part-time limited hours of its program coordinator, TV 23 has received more requests than it can handle from volunteers who want training and from community groups who want to make videos of local events. Moreover, because even with the latest technology, it can take up to 5 hours to produce a 1-hour show, the station had to drop the popular program Saugerties Most Wanted. According to Chief Sinagra, this show resulted in the capture of 70% of the outlaws featured on it. Anthony Arian, chairperson of the Alliance for Community Media in New York since 2008, oversees the healthy function of all the public educational and government, or PEG, stations in our state, of which TV 23 is one. He's advised the TV 23 committee that we need at least one full-time employee to maintain quality programming for our viewing area of nearly 20,000. Mr. Arian warns, a reduction of programming due to lack of funding leads to reduced revenue for towns and a reduced quality of life for residents. Stacy is an ideal candidate to be the first full-time TV 23 program coordinator. Not only is she an exceptionally efficient worker, doing it 30 hours a week what others might need 40 hours to accomplish, but she has her own health care insurance, so she will not need it from her employer. She's also promised a 1-year notice of her intent to retire. And apparently, according to current Department of Labor guidelines in this state, a worker doesn't need to give any notice to leave their job, but she's willing to give a 1-year notice. If promoted to full-time, she will spend that year training her replacements while maintaining quality programming on the station. If she remains part-time, she will be able to either train replacements or maintain the quality of programming, but not both. A robustly functioning station is also a critically important asset going forward in the negotiations for renewal of the franchise agreement with Spectrum. As you know, that agreement provides about $120,000 in revenue for the town and village. A struggling TV 23 puts that revenue at risk. We should heed the warning of Mr. Arian, who is perhaps the most qualified expert in New York State to speak on this issue. Please refer to the handout that I gave you that introduces you to the Alliance for Community Media. It's this press release on the second page of the packet I gave you. And it mentions a 23-minute video entitled "The Future of Community Media in New York State." I encourage you to take the time to view this video to be fully aware of the possible consequences of your decision regarding this proposal. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter and for all you do to serve your community. I believe that all of you will do your best to make a good decision that will help Saugerties continue to be the attractive, community-minded place that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara.
If anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them or find somebody who can.
This will be addressed basically within the next month as we're looking at all the department's submissions for budget proposals for 2020. And I've already had a conversation with Stacy, and she is willing to participate in a budget workshop to discuss TV 23. So thank you for bringing this to our attention.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Next presenter, Gary Bishop.
support the town weighing in on climate emergency. As you all know, climate change, global warming, etc. is a big issue, and it's a critical issue. Some say that little Saugerties has no weight in this matter, no voice. But it's important for the board to go on record. One is supporting your constituents, and two, collectively with other towns and villages. It does have a voice, and it does have weight. About the issue itself. It's almost universally acknowledged that not only is climate change a threat, but man is causing it, and the window or time frame to act is shrinking. This country has made significant progress in the last 4 decades or so of cleaning up our pollution issues. But I'm concerned that the current administration is reversing much of that progress. So I think it's important that you weigh in on this issue, and hopefully other town boards will. I want to applaud Mike McIsaac for taking the lead on this, and thank the board for taking action. Thanks.
Thank you. Stephen Schaefer?
Well, I'm Stephen Schaefer, live at 8 Minder Street. I'd like to thank the board and everybody here for listening to me tonight on why Saugerties and every community in the Hudson Valley should go on record against the dance camera project. Our words tonight are on greenhouse gases and climate breakdown, not on regional air quality and water quality issues that Andrew brought up so nicely. Natural gas, as you know, is mostly methane, a super potent greenhouse gas that accounts for about 20% of the heat trapping in the atmosphere, powered by all greenhouse gases combined. Carbon dioxide is about 70%, other gases 10%. During its short 10-year life in the atmosphere, methane, as Andrew said, is 100 times more efficient per molecule than CO2 at blocking the escape of infrared radiation into space, thus trapping heat. Professor Robert Howard at Cornell reports that methane leaks from the natural gas and oil supply system are now the biggest source of human-influenced methane emissions in the world, about double what comes from cattle. In the United States, natural gas production has gone up by 70% since 2006. This is due almost entirely to fracking. Whether unacknowledged losses of methane from the natural gas supply chain are 1% or 10%, nobody knows for sure, but as natural gas production goes up yearly, so do methane emissions. Controlling methane emissions offers society a challenge that's also a real opportunity. It's unique to methane because its lifespan is far shorter than that of CO2. If methane emissions keep rising, that gas keeps adding to the atmosphere's heat trapping capacity. No surprise there, same old ticket to disaster. If the emissions can be leveled off for about 10 years, however, the amount in the atmosphere will become steady, just as a tub keeps the same water level when inflow and outflow are equal. In this state, methane still contributes to heat trapping, but does not add to it. If methane emissions go down steadily, even at a slow rate, total heat trapping capacity declines also. Think of the water level when the drain moves out more than flows in. It is imperative for the world that methane emissions not keep rising. The best way to get there is to end the build-out of the natural gas industry this year. That means, among other things, stopping coal, as was done, propose new facilities like the Glide Path gas plant, not letting partly finished facilities like Cricket Valley Energy Center in Dover Plains be opened on gas power, not allowing to operate with any fossil fuel facilities like CPV in Wawayanda that are currently running on diesel because they haven't been permitted gas. And coming to our point of the evening, dance camera, not permitting conversion of older facilities to unneeded gas-fired revamps. I'm not saying that the natural gas industry should be shut down this year or next, but it cannot be allowed to keep growing. Every community, everywhere, must line up against new or revised installations that create more demand for natural gas. Every such facility that's allowed in future saps the motivation for our relatively climate-conscious state to bring on renewables at top speed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there anyone else who wanted to address the board that didn't sign up? Sue?
Hi, I'm Sue Rosenberg. I live in West Saugerties. I just briefly want to speak on the issue. Thanks, Stephen, so much, and our friend from Kingston, who laid out the facts about the dangers of dance scammers so well. I find myself, now that I'm a grandmother of a 2-year-old, having a somewhat different perspective on the future than I've had before. And so the urgency of the issues of pollution, climate change are even more real. I know that the boards and Saugerties have been reluctant in the past to pass resolutions that are not within our jurisdiction, are not within Saugerties, that are memorializing resolutions over which we don't have specific control. But one of the things we know is that air pollution, water pollution, climate change don't know the borders that we as humans have artificially set up. So we can say it's not within our purview because it's not in the town of Saugerties, but the air quality, the danger posed to the Hudson River, the urgency of changing from fossil fuels to renewable sources and of using less energy grow ever more urgent as we sit here. So I just want to urge you all to take a stand, to add Saugerties' voice to the voices that are arising throughout Ulster County and throughout New York, to say there's no reason to have dance scammer up and running on natural gas, and we need to protect our lives, our children, and generations ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan.
Hi, Leanne.
Hi.
Thanks for taking the time. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Steve Massey. I know some of you, but for those who don't know me, I'm the Director of Ulster County Veterans Services. And this is my colleague, Frank Ruggiero. We work together, public veterans in Ulster County every day. Unlike everybody who's been here before you so far this evening, we're here to take a few minutes of your time with some good news. Some of you may know we had a Veterans Stand Down last Friday. A Veterans Stand Down is an event to connect veterans with their needs. And it brings services together with the veterans that need them. And there were over 350 veterans that attended right here at Cantine Field, the town of Saugerties. And when you add the spouses and guests that they brought with them, there were over 700 people at Cantine Field on Friday at this fabulous event. But I want to take you back a little ways in history for you to understand why we're here tonight telling you all this. Back in April, we were planning a location for this, and when we couldn't get an indoor facility large enough, I let someone talk me out of Cantine Field in lieu of the Texas Roadhouse Plaza up in Kingston. And that was going to be fine until about 5 weeks from the event, the main sponsor pulled out. So here we are, the largest event of the year, we had no venue. Well, I want to tell you that within 4 hours, I was up here at Cantine Field, speaking with Greg Shorvis. I made him understand our dilemma. Within 4 hours, we had a commitment for that venue for the event right here in Saugerties. Now, so I can't tell you what a relief that was. The event scope is kind of hard to understand if you didn't see it. The support that we got from Cantine and Greg and his staff is hard to describe. Imagine 40 pallets of supplies and material coming in that had to be unloaded, sorted, and distributed. We couldn't have done that without their help. Now, I guess I'll wrap it up with this. We have a tradition in the military. It's called coining. When a commanding officer, and I guess for the sake of being a civilian agency, I guess that's me for this, from the standpoint of veteran services, wants to recognize someone in a special way, they get coined. And so I'm going to do that tonight. So a little bit of a military tradition here. Greg Shorvis, front and center.
You know what they say about payback.
So on behalf of the County of Ulster and every veteran who benefited from your help at the stand down, thank you so much for all the support you gave us. Put your hand. Thank you.
And I know he's my boss, but I need to say this. I am from Saugerties. I graduated from Saugerties High School. I joined the military. I did 24 years, and I swore I'd never come back, but I did. And I'm so happy that I did. Between the wall last year and the stand down this year and the support that we received, not only from Greg, but the entire town and community, warms my heart tremendously. So go home with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Supervisor, if I may.
Yes.
Gentlemen, that certainly was not necessary. I greatly appreciate it. As I've said to both of you time and time again, and many others have heard me say this, it's not me, it's the team. And I'm glad you recognize that staff. And let me tell you something, going back to the wall, going beyond that, the wall was just something very, very special. I think we can all say that. That event over there on Friday, I never expected to see as many people. And your estimates might be a little conservative.
Record numbers, right?
Yes.
Record numbers.
And, we're glad we were able to make it happen. We had to juggle some stuff around with summer recreation. But, it's all about, we talk about this all the time, shared services. So, whether it's the village, the town, the county, the state, the school, it's all the same pocketbook and it's all the same wallet. And again, it's always a pleasure working with you gentlemen. And whenever I call on Ulster County, whether it's Tom Jackson, for anything, the answer is always yes. Thank you.
The town is also available for next year, if you're looking for a spot.
Greg, start planning. We'll give you a call tomorrow. All right.
We'd love to host it again. And one more. My name is Saugerties Town. I live in Saugerties and came with Food and Water Watch tonight to support the opposition to the dense tremor plant. I'm a registered nurse of 16 years. Most of that has been in community and public health. I'm in graduate school for public health, going into environmental health, and there is plenty of peer-reviewed research and evidence of what catastrophic effects the plant fracking has on public health. So I hope you will take that into consideration and oppose it. Thank you. Skip Arthur?
So I too would like to back up what Stephen and Sue and Margarita have said, that as a member of the ECC, the Saugerties Conservancy, and of the CDAC for the town, and a resident of a state that's banned fracking, I would sure like to see my town board back us up on that, and it would be great for the environment. We have so much solar happening here, and to accept fracking in our area is just deplorable. So I'd like to see the town with us too. So thank you very much.
supervisors' comments. Last Friday on August 9th, Doug Myers and myself, we met with the team from CS Energy at the landfill. This was the walking on site with the company that is going to begin the construction of the solar panels on our landfill. This will be happening by the end of the month. And basically, for those of you who use the landfill, you're going to notice between, let's say, September 1st and the end of December, construction vehicles on site, potentially as many as 50 cars for the employees who are going to be working there. For those of you who volunteer at the animal shelter, who walk the animals, once the construction fence goes around the perimeter of the pod site, there'll have to be some adjustment in terms of what would be a safe area for the animals. Those people who are on site working are all going to be trained. There's safety gear that has to be used. There was a very formal meeting with a lot of regulations and safety issues that basically Doug went over with the company. And basically this is going to be very exciting. There's over 7,000 panels that will be installed. We use the expertise of Bert, who's been working there for over 30 years, to basically go over what was buried in some of the sites on the old landfill many, many years ago. And it was good to have someone who has been there as a long-term employee to offer insight to this team coming in. Doug, do you have anything else you want to add about that?
Just that the final testing will be done next Thursday, and supposedly they're going to be there the following week to start construction.
And if you go up there and see the vents, they're going to drape them with red tape during the construction process, so you'll see what looks like candy canes on the old landfill, for the next couple of months. On the 12th of August, we were back in court dealing with the debris problem on Route 212, and the next court date for us is on Monday, August 19th at 2 p.m. Last night, the county held a public hearing on local law number 3 of 2019 that amended Chapter 304 of Article 1. This deals with solid waste definitions, regulated waste and construction demolition, and debris and refuse. Thank you to Mary Warrow, our legislator, who called yesterday afternoon to alert us that this was going to be a public hearing last night. And basically, as deputy supervisor, I represented the town board collectively here and addressed the concerns that this is something that, to encourage the county legislators to basically pass this amendment, because the definition expands what debris is. I mean, we are subject to, toxic materials that are coming into our community. Hopefully the town of Rochester, which is also experimenting some issues, and Saugerties, we're not going to be affected by this new legislation, but it certainly protects the residents and the community, other communities in Ulster County. And Councilman Andreessen also was there, and the two of us basically represented the community, and we said, this is something that needs to happen. The next meeting for the county legislature to deal with this will be next Tuesday, August 20th. I believe their regular meeting is at 7 p.m. But it's on the website, if you go to the county website. I contacted Mike Ferraro, who did email all of the support groups that have been working, Catskill Mountain Keeper, the residents on Felquois, Goat Hill Road, and 212, who have been impacted by the debris situation, to encourage them also to reach out to their county legislators and, if possible, attend the meeting next week. So hopefully this will pass in the legislature, and it will basically tighten what's acceptable waste and what can be brought into this community. field. Basically, a busy week. If you were sitting around last weekend and didn't have anything to do, you missed out on half a dozen activities. We started with Tributopia, which was the band tribute festival. We had the Caribbean Festival with over 60 vendors. This is the second year of the Caribbean Festival. The Antique Car and Auto Show was going on also on Sunday. We had the incredible studio art tour. We have over 34 artists this year who participated with the opening reception last Friday night at Opus 40. And if you had an opportunity to go to some studios, I mean, it was just an incredible variety of artistic talent that we have here at Saugerties. The Kirsten House offered on Sunday there. If you've got tired of Caribbean music, you can go to the Kirsten House, and our fantastic community band played there for an hour. As the gentleman from the Veterans Association said, the stand down, there were over 30 support services who were here to meet and greet the veterans and answer questions. Incredible amount of clothing and just usable goods, sleeping bags, gloves, hand warmers, anything you could possibly think of that was free and available to them. We also did the SOS packing last week, which was sending, there were 30 different troops, 30 members of a particular battalion that are going to be receiving the packages coming from Saugerties. The animal shelter on Sunday also was the scene at Opus 40, the benefit concert, and they had food trucks, they had, you know, band, Paul Luke band played. I believe there was this other band that was there, I don't know the name of them, but they great music. It was a real family event, and the shelter, I believe, will be receiving several thousands of dollars that will profit from that activity. And looking at Al over here, the motorcyclist, they did a special tribute ride, you know, for that. So there were a lot of individuals who were involved with that. This coming weekend, you know, we are the happening town around here. Tomorrow night from 4:30 to 9 o'clock is the Food Truck Festival, and I've been told that the Lobster Truck is one of the more popular venues. They're going to be there. Diaz Ambulance this Saturday. If you haven't got your tickets, the Michael Dell Orchestra will be playing at the Partition and in back at Bella Luna from 6:30 to 10 o'clock. We have the Hope Rocks concert benefit this weekend. And if you were going in and out of the village, you've seen the signs. The Arm of the Sea Theater will be performing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So lots happening in Saugerties, okay? And another just potential, you know, we're always looking for grant money to support our activities here. I'm pleased to announce that today the grant for the Hudson River Estuary Program through Cornell Cooperative Extension, we are partnering with the Village of Saugerties to apply for a grant from the Hudson River Estuary Program to develop a plan for educational signs at all of our local parks. This will be the George Turpinning Park, Glasgow Mini Park, Tina Chorvis Park in the village, and eventually for signage and educational materials that will basically explain climate change, the Hudson River Estuary, what it is, how to combat climate change, and the town of Saugerties, and this will be the lead agent. I'd like to thank Mary McNamara and Kathleen Gray, who basically were the two individuals who took this on and put it together and got it in on time. And hopefully, you know, we won't know until probably 2020, early 2020, if the grant comes through. But this is the first planning new signage for the parks. I think at the last meeting, Supervisor Costello talked about our hike at Bristol Beach. Mr. Chorvis was one of the gallant team that went with our machete and clippers through the woods. But one of the things that will happen in Bristol Beach will be, once the trail is set, we're looking at the signage that will be down on the river that will deal with the historic aspects of the brickyard that's there, and Bluestone and Madeleine's history. So taking a look at the type and designs of signage and the information that makes our parks not just a fun place to go, but an educational component to it. So this is the first time we've applied for a grant like this, and keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope that we're successful. We need to, it was brought to our attention during the public hearing on the zoning, request from the zoning board, that we have to have 14 days between the public hearing dates, 15 days, excuse me, 15 days. And the motion that was on the agenda tonight did not allow for that time period. So we're going to be modifying a motion and setting 2 new public hearing dates for September 4th at 6 p.m. and September 19th at 5:30. The proposed recommendation must be submitted to the Town Planning Board and to the Ulster County Planning Board. So this will give time for both of those planning groups to receive the information, the proposed resolution, respond, react to it, and we will address it again on September 4th and again on September 19th. During pre-board, the members of the board agreed to unanimously to basically do this evening. Okay. Approval of minutes. Approval of pre-board meeting 7/17/19. Town board meeting 7/17/19. The public hearing of 7/19 CCA program, and the public hearing of 7/17/19 CDBG handicap access.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approval of bills. I think I have my glasses. Okay, general fund totaling $267,023.01. General outside village, $9,588.39. Highway, $268,236.03. Capital projects, $160,340.61. Ambulance district, $63,132.08. Lighting district, $19,781.25. Sewer O&M, $3,871.90. Glasgow Water, $3,206. Central Hudson, $10,949, for total expenditures of $806,128.27. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd also like to add too that I was at M&T Bank yesterday morning, and we basically rolled over some CDs, and it was a good rollover because we ended up having an interest payment of $23,300 that, we basically added to our general fund. So it was a good investment, and credit Julie Dunn with being on top of this for us. Okay, department head reports. Mr. Torvis, you want to start?
Sure. Update with the Turpinning Park Pavilion. We're expecting delivery late next week, more likely the early portion of the following week. Today we boxed down the area where the prefab pavilion is going to be placed. And I want to thank the village of Saugerties for working with us and the use of their mini excavator and trucks. Not only did we get the area boxed down, but we also installed the base material that the pavilion will sit on. Bigelow Park, all the new playground equipment is in. We boxed the area out underneath the swings and added the right amount of mulch. So now we are compliant with playground standards at Bigelow. And we got our first coat of paint on the swings out there, the frames, and hopefully tomorrow, the next day, we get a second coat on there. Unfortunately, vandalism problems are still continuing at J.C. Field. For the second time in less than a month, culprits started dismantling the playground and tossing it into the woods. And it was the same pieces this time as the previous time. And they had to have sockets or wrenches. It's not something that they could easily remove. What motivates this, I have no clue. And talking about being motivated by such nonsense, 2 days after we power washed the playground at J.C. Field, someone or someones poured some kind of a liquid, maybe a beverage, a sticky liquid, over a fairly decent portion of the playground. And again, what motivates these people, these individuals, I have no clue. Leanne did half of my report on the events, but as she alluded to last month with Supervisor Costello, herself, Engineer Joe Min, along with the committee, we did go in there and mark the trail and tape it. Either next week or the following week, we're going to go in there and blow through there with a forestry cutter. And then that trail will be open from the new parking lot that Doug and the Highway Department put in down to the gravel road, which leads to the grassy meadow adjacent to the Hudson, the river. And speaking with Engineer Rich Pretorius on Monday, we are on schedule with the timeline previously established for the ice arena, the replacement building. Summer Youth Recreation Program, 115 enrollees. Today, for the first time in many, many years, Suzanne had a bus trip to Yankee Stadium for the individuals and a bunch of parents as chaperones in addition to the counselors. And again, as Leanne alluded to, 4 very successful events, starting with the Ulster Stand Down in 3 days last week, the Tributopia concert, Caribbean concert, which was much larger than I anticipated. That event has just grown in leaps and bounds, only its second year. And then the Antique Auto Show, 62nd year of the Antique Auto Show. Again, Leanne mentioned the Food Truck Festival. At the last minute, for the last one, we moved it to the large pavilion. Everybody seemed very happy with it. Marge was very, very happy with it. So we're going to stage this one and the next one in September there. And again, the Hope Rocks Festival, Saturday 12 noon to 7, and Sunday 12 noon to 5 p.m. So lots of good stuff going on, and hopefully Mother Nature cooperates like Mother Nature cooperated last week.
Rick, is there any chance that we can get cameras over there at that J.C. Field to see if we can catch these culprits?
I'm working with Central Hudson. In Central Hudson, it takes forever. We're waiting now for a J number so that they can drop a power feed off of where we used to have. We used to have power over there before they burned the pavilion down at J.C. Field years ago. And so we obviously, when that happened, and then the tennis courts, the lights got removed because of vandalism. And again, we're talking 25 years ago. That electric supply was removed. So I'm working with Central Hudson. A number of the residents now have gotten involved, the Bodie family, the Alberts family, and a few others. John's been great. John Bodie has a second set of eyes, but this stuff apparently happens in the middle of the night. Although he was away for a week, and then he got back. And the ironic thing is, the day he had emailed me, 2 days earlier, Dan Cole, who kind of oversees the satellite parks, was there cutting and trimming, and the playground was fine. So it had to happen in the overnights.
Thank you. Doug?
Thank you.
Okay, on the highway department level, the summer paving program is in full swing. We've done probably half a dozen roads.
Can you use the mic, Doug? I can't hear you.
Oh, I forgot to use it too.
Yeah, but you project.
Oh, do I?
How's that? Better?
Much better, thanks.
Okay, on the highway department level, the paving program is in full swing. We've paved probably half a dozen roads so far. On going to be sealing 2 of them tomorrow. We have Thistle Road in Mount Marion, and we're prepping Joseph's Drive over in Glasgow. We're going to completely refurbish both of those roads this year. And then we're going to move on and start on Hummelville Road. Breakdowns, we've had quite a few, but we're keeping up with them. The one thing that you're going to see on the agenda tonight is the one mower I have. I can't keep it together anymore. It's 30 years old. It's got 7,200 hours on it. And we normally use 2 mowers, so please be patient. I've only got one out there and I can't rent one. So I'm going to ask that I can auction off the second one we have now, and I'm going to purchase a new one, but that will not be in until next spring. We will get caught up on it. Anything over 20 years old is an antique, so when I go to buy parts for this, you can imagine what I'm paying, so I'm not even going to try it anymore. For those of you that have traveled Dave Elliott Road and Emmerich Road, you know they're sliding down into the ravine. This is occurring in numerous towns, and it's due to, once again, climate change. The amount of rain we get in any given time period doubles or triples what everybody's used to. Well, the ground can't take it either. Once again, I ask you to be patient because it's going to be very costly. I'm not even going to throw a number out, but very costly to fix these 2 roads. I've been meeting with 2 engineering firms, and we're coming up with a plan, which I will present probably in the next month or so, where I can do it in-house. If I can do it in-house, it's going to save 66% of the bill. That's why I'm asking you to please be patient, because it's going to save a fortune. I will be going after both of these projects late fall, early winter, but until everything is settled, I really don't want to put forward what it is we're going to try to do until I've solidified all the plans. Leanne brought up, as far as the solar array that I'm overseeing, that is moving forward quickly. That's going to be a 2 megawatt array. The testing is an explosive gas test we're going to take next week. It's something that gets done once or twice a year anyway, but they just want a current one, the DEC wants a current one before we start construction. Within 2 weeks, the construction will begin, and this project should be done late November, I believe, right? So that will be up and online by late November. So our transfer station, everything is going good. We're actually concentrating on getting the grounds ready for the solar people to come in within the next couple of weeks. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. All right, department head reports, we've done that. Board and committee reports. We'll start with Mr. Andreessen.
Yes, thank you. For the sake of time, I'll cut mine short. I just want to acknowledge some of these firefighters that took a 189-hour boot camp course. Kyle Dunham and Lion Murray with Centerville, Saxton, Alex Wood in Mountain West Camp, Dan Watson completed this class. This is the time that they have to either take vacation from their jobs or basically, pay their own way. So we've got to commend those folks. Planning board meeting will be next Tuesday at 7:30. Several public hearings, small projects, nothing major. But I do always encourage people to attend these meetings. Zoning Board of Appeals was this week as well, and the chairwoman has informed me that everyone will be going to the training next month, correct? So they'll get their training. Planning Board, Zoning Board members always have to have training each year to stay up to speed. September 14th at the Texas Roadhouse is sponsoring a rib eating contest for a memorial that's being designed at Cantine Field. It'll be wind up at Cantine Field for fallen first responders. And the impetus of that, the origin of that was Captain Jack Rose, Detective Captain Jack Rose, and that's what brought this about. So it has morphed into a fallen first responders memorial. So hopefully you can make it to that. And I believe on October 19th will be a parade for the centennial for the American Legion. It'll be 100 years old. There'll be a parade in the village. You'll read more about it, I'm sure. And there'll be some festivities at the American Legion that day as well. So please promote that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. LifeSpring, if you haven't registered for the adult learning program for this fall, the deadline is August 15th, which is tomorrow. And the catalogs are a bit, well, if you didn't get a catalog, you can take a look at the course offerings online. The classes are going to begin October 16th and run through November 20th. And there will be a preamble class on September 25th, and they also will be doing winter presentations December, January, February, and March. Their curriculum committee has come up with a fantastic selection of courses, so, you know, if you haven't taken a look online, do so within the next 24 hours if you'd like to get registered. The library. Our library, you know, it's a crown jewel. Right now, the numbers are absolutely unbelievable. We have 9,779 people. 51% of people who live in Saugerties use this library. And it has the highest circulation of any library in Ulster County, believe it or not. The terms for trustees, there's 2 terms up this year, so the election for the budget will be Thursday, September 5th. So you'll be voting on the budget. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and also for 2 trustee positions. The proposed budget is $675,358. If you have a $200,000 market value, your increase goes from $63 a year to $64.85 a year. That's the difference. It's a 92-cent difference per thousand. So if you'd like more specific information, these sheets are available at the library. It's also on their website. It gives you a total breakdown of the budget. And, you know, they fed 150 kids for the free lunch program. I mean, it's just, you know, it's not just a place to go for books and videos and magazines and using the computer. It has really become a mecca for the youth in this community. Boys and Girls Club, 76 golfers golfed and successful tournament. This summer they're averaging 100 kids a week. The fall school site enrollments at the elementary schools are up on every building. They are looking though for a staff site coordinator. So if you have a 2-year degree in early childhood education or you've worked in you know, with youth, the job, it's from 2:30 to 6 o'clock. It's an 18-hour week. I would recommend that you contact Dan Whalen at the Boys and Girls Club because they're looking for the site coordinator and they're also looking for aides to work in the after-school programs. The Steak and Burger, which is something that is held nationwide with Boys and Girls Club, that's going to be this year on October 23rd. They're also bringing back their fundraiser for the infamous Parmesan dinners from Mirabella's. The first one will be October 7th. The Historical Society, one of the most famous people, not just Jimmy Fallon, but the most famous people from Saugerties, of course, is our comic book writer, our illustrator, Joe Sinnott. And on August 31st, the Historical Society is doing a day to tribute. We'll be passing a resolution later to make it Joe Sinnott Day. But Joe will be at the Kirsten House, and it's going to be for the community to come out and show this gentleman who is 92nd birthday, that, you know, his talents are greatly appreciated.
Is the World War II better?
Yes, yes. Comprehensive Planning Committee, our Town and Village Committee, we've edited and gone through over 10 of the goals in the previous booklet. Our next meeting is the last Monday of this month. CPC regular meeting is August 22nd. The Village Town Stack meeting, we met, what is it now, 2 weeks ago? And basically, the board, village and town boards received a recommendation from the staff committee saying that we need to address the safety issue, part of safe streets and safe routes to school, or sidewalks. Now, we don't have the funds to put in a poured concrete sidewalk, but the area from Mosher Drive over here to, I think that's Robinson Street, we're in the village, but this is town property. So what the staff committee has recommended is that we put some type of a walkway in, similar to what the group sponsored in the village and town and school did for a walkway for the students on Washington Avenue, that we have some type of safe walking area for students and baseball players and people who patronize the Garlic Festival for walking from here to here. By law, you cannot put pavers, what do you call that, sidewalk where you connect one side, halfway, yeah. You have to connect it from sidewalk to sidewalk, and that's what they have in the village streets. But since there's no sidewalk from here to there, there's no way to delineate a safe crossing area. So the staff committee discussed this and basically recommended it. The powers that be, Mr. Myers, Mr. Chorvis, and the village and town boards basically have been notified that this is something we'd like you in your busy schedule to look into. And you know I will continuously bring this up. So we want to make it happen. Preferably before the Garlic Festival, that would be nice. But, yeah. Just putting it out there, guys. Okay. Mr. McIsaac? Report.
There was a Climate Advisory Commission meeting on July 18th. I was not able to attend, but Councilman Andreessen was able to attend. He covered for me, thank you. And he took minutes. There will be another meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall board room. There was also a county Climate Smart Communities meeting on July 22nd. I was able to attend that. I brought the news from Saugerties and the fact that Saugerties is moving forward to starting our own CCA raised eyebrows. I mean, they were impressed. So there were suggestions that we educate the public well, especially on the difference between the cost of delivery of electricity and the cost of the electricity itself. So we should be doing that. There were a lot of other reports. It was well attended, and there was a lot of good information there. That's all I have.
John?
So the benefit that was held this past weekend from the animal shelter was already mentioned, but they also had an event on First Friday this week at Alley White, this month at Alley White Ice Cream called Kittens and Cones, and it was a huge success. I came by, I may have brought my dog, even though I know it was kittens. But there was a huge line, and it definitely helped raise awareness and raise a little bit of money. And I'm looking forward, I'm sure they're going to be having a lot more events like that going on as the year goes on. For Shout Out Saugerties, they are going to start rolling out their events for the month of October, so keep an eye on their website there. And then for the Historic Preservation Commission, there was no meeting held last month, but we will be having a meeting this month, next Monday at 5 p.m. over at the Building Department's conference room at Town Hall. And it's, of course, open to public, just like almost all of our committee meetings are. And that is all I have.
Thank you, John. Let's move on to motions and resolutions. It's very recent.
Motion to rescind the motion 7/17/19 because of a publication issue to approve the resolution as on file authorizing the town supervisor to grant a non-exclusive easement over town property located in SPL 18.1025.110, which is in the
Second.
Hamlet.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as on file, authorizing the town supervisor to grant a non-exclusive easement over town property located at SBL 18.10-2.110.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind the motion from 7/17/19 because of an incorrect address, to approve Frank X. Mouse of Switch on Electric, P.O. Box 87, 489 State Route 52, Woodburn, New York, 12788, for the town-approved third-party electrical inspector list.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Frank X. Smouse of Switch on Electric, P.O. Box 191, Bloomingburg, New York, 12721, for the town-approved third-party electrical inspector list.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to set a public hearing date of 9/4/19 at 6 p.m. and 9/19/19 at 5:30 p.m. regarding the zoning law resolution amendment for professional assistance, ZBA escrow account with referral to the town of Saugerties Planning Board and the Ulster County Planning Board on 8/15/19.
So that's amended with the different date, the new dates.
Correct.
Second.
We addressed this earlier in the meeting. We have to have a certain time frame between public hearings, and both county and town planning boards have to be given copies of the resolution. So this change addresses that concern. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to reappoint Frank Orlando as the town of Saugerties assessor with a 6-year term that will be effective October 1st, 2019, running through September 29th, 2025.
Second?
Any discussion?
I just have, is there a contract for that? Some sort of written contract or just an appointment?
It's an appointment.
I would like to say, to support Mr. Orlando. Being the assessor is a tough job. He does a good job of balancing everything. So I give him my support.
I think on this we'll take an individual vote. Okay. Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonmaker?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Make a motion to approve a reimbursement of $700 to Lisa Kirk for the request of the planning board for the subdivision portion of her application that was withdrawn.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a mass gathering permit for the Woodstock Jewish Congregation at 1682 Glasgow Turnpike for September 29th, 2019 from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., September 30th, 2019 from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., October 1st, 2019 from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., October 8th, 2019 from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m., and October 9th, 2019 from 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion?
Real quick, do we know on that last one, 10/9/19, is it supposed to be 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
It probably is.
Okay.
It's 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m.
To 10 p.m.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure there wasn't a typo in there.
And they're very quiet.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion authorizes the superintendent of highways Douglas F. Meyer the authority to piggyback on New York State Ag Tractors and Implements Contract PC 67140, PG1I, CG22, PGYJ, CG34 with Equipment Company Incorporated, 2356 Route 9, Hudson, New York, 12534, for one new 2020 John Deere 5090E utility tractor equipped with an Alamo IS74R 74-inch right-hand flail unit for the total purchase price of $86,833.
Second?
I have a question, just, what is a flail unit?
It's the mower that hangs off the side of the tractor.
Huh. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion authorizing Superintendent of Highways Douglas F. Meyer the authority to declare surplus and no longer of any use to the town of Saugerties one 1989 Case tractor equipped with a 74-inch Alamo flail mower, VIN number 00B027165, and to dispose of it via Auctions International.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mike?
Motion authorizing Superintendent of Highways Douglas F. Meyer the authority to transfer funds in the amount equal to the remaining debt created by the purchase of one 2020 John Deere 5090E utility tractor equipped with an Alamo 74-inch right-hand flail unit from the Highway Department fund balance, DB0, 1-911, to capital and equipment, DB0-3-5130.200, or utilize a portion of the town of Saugerties 2020 CHIPS allotment from New York State for said purchase.
Second?
Any discussion? Doug, do you want to comment at all?
Just in a nutshell, the first portion is my fund balance, which I have in the neighborhood of 800,000 in. Or the CHIPS allotment is money we receive from the state. The only thing I need to do is prove that it has a lifetime of 10 years. So whatever's more beneficial to the taxpayers is the direction I'll go in. But the main point here is that it will not raise the 2020 budget one penny.
All in favor?
Aye.
John?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation from permanent full-time employment from Sean Weaver, effective August 14th, 2019. Sean will maintain part-time call-out status as per the recommendation of the Parks and Building Superintendent.
Second?
Any discussion?
Is he just getting another job and then staying
Yes.
on as a part-time guy?
On a part-time call-out, excuse me, basis, comes down to money, to making a substantial amount more. This is something, you hear the chief talk about, and we all face, but never want to stand in the way of anybody that's wanting to improve themselves, better their livelihood, better their family, and certainly wish them all the best of luck and success.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to add to the Parks and Buildings part-time call-out list, Sharmar Hamilton at a rate of $12 per an hour, as per the recommendation of the Parks and Buildings Superintendent.
Second? Any discussion?
We have applications for them.
Yeah, I attached it to the what I sent to the Secretary of the Board. Again, I just want to mention Shamar has worked 2 years in the Ulster County Summer Youth Recreation Program. That's funded. I was fortunate this year we started out with 3. One didn't turn out so good, we got down to 2. And this is a very young individual who comes from a broken family. He's 18 years of age, and he shows a lot of initiative. And we'll use him on a part-time call-out basis.
And $12 an hour is above the minimum wage in New York State, but that's going to be increasing to $15?
Well, eventually, I think that's going to take
2025, yeah.
3 to 5 years. That in New York City, it's a little bit different. They're 15 right now. I believe it's 11.10 here. This is the same rate that the County of Ulster paid him this past summer.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to add to the Parks and Buildings part-time security call-out list Gerard M. McGowan at a rate of $13 per hour as per the recommendation of Parks and Buildings Superintendent.
Second.
Any comment, Craig?
You know, self-explanatory, it would be on the call-out list. As you know, last year I lost Tom Spears, another security attendant, was working 3 evenings a week. Now he's just going to be doing 1 evening a week because they have a full-time job and it's just gotten a little bit too much.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to declare surplus and no longer of use to the town of Saugerties 16 steel trusses along with related purlins, cross bracing from the old roof structure to Kiwanis Ice Arena as per the recommendation of the Ice Arena Director and the Parks and Building Superintendent.
Second.
We're going to attempt to, well, the next motion addresses the means of, obviously when they pull these off, I do have one interested party that expressed interest, a local, fairly large contractor in purchasing these. So whatever's going to be the cost, the most cost-effective means, and hope to get several $1,000s. A lot of steel, a lot of metal.
Any other questions?
Can't move the whole building right now.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
John?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Parks and Building Superintendent to dispose of aforementioned items, which may include metal salvage reclamation in the most revenue-effective producing means, as per the recommendation of the Ice Arena Director and Parks and Building Superintendent.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the contract addendum between the Saugerties Central School District and the town of Saugerties as on file in regards to the school resource officer, known as SRO.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the resolution as on file authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of up to $900,000 revenue anticipation notes for the Malcolm Water District in the town of Saugerties.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, this is related to the water line
Yes.
going out on Malvern Turnpike, and the sewer and water department are fielding questions. People are calling their office.
And this is the Thruway Authority basically will be reimbursing the funding on this.
Right, it is not coming from the taxpayers.
No.
They're paying.
We're not paying for it, but they are. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement for solar energy systems as on file between the town of Saugerties, the county of Ulster, and ELP Meyer Solar LLC pending town attorney approval.
Second. Any discussion?
We still have to wait for the town attorney approval, or it has been reviewed?
Basically, it says pending.
So we're approving pending that approval.
Right. Pending it gets the blessing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Mike?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as on file regarding a declaration of a climate emergency.
Second.
Yeah, I would like to read it. I think this is important enough. It's not too long. It's greatly reduced. Content. Town of Saugerties Resolution Declaration of a Climate Emergency. Whereas in April 2016, leaders from 175 countries recognized the threat of climate change and the urgent need to combat it by signing the Paris Agreement. Whereas on October 8, 2018, the United Nations released a special report which projected that limiting warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade this century will require an unprecedented transformation of the global economy over the next 12 years. Whereas the United States of America has disproportionately contributed to this climate change and thus bears more responsibility to address this crisis. Whereas the Earth is already too hot, as evidenced by increasing and intensifying wildfires, floods, rising seas, droughts, and extreme weather. Whereas restoring a safe and stable climate requires an emergency mobilization to rapidly and safely draw down excess carbon from the atmosphere and to implement measures to protect all people and species from the consequences of climate change. Whereas the executive of Ulster County has declared his intention to establish a Green New Deal whereby Ulster County will act as a leader by both converting to an ecologically, socially, and economically regenerative economy at emergency speed. Now be it therefore resolved, the town of Saugerties declares that a climate emergency threatens our town, country, state, nation, and world. Be it further resolved, the town urges leaders at every level of government to commit to a climate emergency mobilization effort to reverse global warming and to end greenhouse gas emissions as quickly as possible. Be it further resolved, the town urges government leaders to commit to educating our residents about the climate emergency and the mobilization effort at the local, state, national, and global levels. Be it further resolved, the town underscores the need for full community participation, inclusion, and support, and recognizes that the residents of Ulster County and members of the community organizations, faith-based, youth, labor, business, academic institutions, and other such community allies will be integral to and provide leadership of the mobilization effort. Be it further resolved, the Saugerties Town Clerk shall forward this resolution to the Chair of the Ulster County Legislature, County Executive Patrick Ryan, Ulster County Legislatures Mary Warrow, Joseph Maloney, and Dee Fabiano, New York Senator George Amador, New York Assemblyman Chris Day, Congressman Antonio Delgado, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Senator Charles Schumer, and Governor Andrew Cuomo.
So, for resolutions such as this is extremely important. As many in this room know, we've already been making a lot of progress on a very green agenda in this town. But it's really important that we start shaping the narrative of what is really a crisis. Many still, when you hear climate change, it doesn't really make it seem as close as it really is. As Mike mentioned, we've got 12 years to really drastically transform our entire global economy. And we need to start really addressing it as a crisis, an emergency. And I think this is, while we're a small town, each town, if we do our part, will be able to actually have a significant impact on that change.
I think reaching out and educating the public and having more forums where people come and speak who are, specialists in this field, other than us, my field, we're lay people actually. And that would be helpful if they could foster that, and have professionals come and help educate the public and invite the public, of course.
I'll have to say the Conservation Advisory Commission at the Saugerties, we're so fortunate to have the volunteers who serve on that committee because they have really moved things along, and just in terms of looking at our energy consumption in the town and sponsoring the solar. Just think back to the first solar fair and the solar program from 2 years ago. So, as Pat Ryan said, Saugerties is the example. We're setting, our community is setting the example that other towns are really looking up to, and they're how did you do that? They want to know. So, compliments to everybody on the CAC and for Mike, who has really been involved with pushing this, being the power behind the committee here. Okay, our next motion, we didn't vote. We
agreed on that, yeah.
Yes, we need to vote. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, aye. All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation pertaining to Joe Sinnott, and I'm going to read this because he is a very special person. Whereas the town is celebrating August 31st, 2019 as Joe Sinnott Day, and whereas we honor and applaud Joe's efforts put forth for the 60-plus years as an iconic American comic book artist, whereas we appreciate the many, many years that Joe devoted to making childhood fantasies possible through his work with the very well-known Marvel Comics, Fantasy Four, and the amazing Spider-Man, just to highlight a few institutions that he was associated with. Whereas Joe also went in different directions with his talent by designing 2 U.S. Postal Service commemorative stamps and record covers for the American singer Bing Crosby. Whereas we are grateful for the duties that Joe performed for our nation while serving in the Navy from 1944 to 1946 as a Seabee during World War II for the preservation of our freedom. Whereas we thank Joe for his service and dedication to our community. Whereas we acknowledge with much respect Joe's examples of leadership, loyalty, and citizenship. Whereas it is a privilege to have Joe as a member of the Saugerties community for the past 92 years. And whereas we recognize Joe as a distinguished citizen, whereas Joe was given a friendly Saugerties congratulations on his retirement. Therefore, I, Supervisor Rick Costello, and the entire town board members recognize and declare August 31st, 2019 as Joe Sinnott Day in Saugerties. And as thank you. And there will be an open house. There's going to be a program at the Kirsten House that day. So, you know, make that part of your end of the month schedule to get out, meet and greet Joe.
I'd like to just add that I grew up with his family, and I'm proud to say that I served in the same outfit that he served in. Of course, it was 45 years later, but nonetheless, he's a great guy.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Our next scheduled meeting, basically, we have a public hearing on September 4th at 6 o'clock for the zoning law amendment for the ZBA escrow account. And then Wednesday, September 4th, pre-board meeting will be at 6:30, town board meeting at 7, and then on September 19th, public hearing at 5:30 for the zoning law amendment for the ZBA escrow account again. Any other thing I've forgotten? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. It was a little longer than usual for us, but, you know, we had a lot going on the last 2 weeks. So thank you for coming.